Marijuana has been illegal for less than 1% of the time that it's been in use. Its known uses go back further than 7000 BC, and it was legal as recently as when Ronald Reagan was a boy. Officials often argue that marijuana is much more potent than it was in the 60s, and that it is therefore more dangerous. However, the opposite is true. Less needs to be smoked in order to achieve the same effect, therefore less damage is done to one's lungs. A legitimate concern about smoking marijuana is that it's carcinogenic. However, all carbon-based smoke is carcinogenic, whether it comes from tobacco, cannabis, or wood fire. Additionally, users don't smoke a pack of joints a day. Opponents of marijuana also assume that smoking the substance is the only means of receiving its effects. Although smoking seems to be the easiest and most popular way to use marijuana, many alternatives are available. One such alternative is a vaporizer, which releases the active ingredients of marijuana by burning it at a lower temperature. This, unlike smoking, leaves almost all of the tar and carcinogens behind in the marijuana. THC is also fat soluble. It can be cooked with butter, olive oil, peanut butter, or anything with fat. Ingesting marijuana products, like a cannabis brownie, is not a health risk, nor is it carcinogenic. Another alternative to smoking marijuana is the consumption of a tincture. A tincture uses alcohol to extract chemicals from an herb. During the Civil War, medics used marijuana tinctures to alleviate the pain of wounded soldiers on the battlefield. Over 5,000 doctors were arrested in the 2 years following the 1937 Tax Act for continuing to prescribe cannabis preparations. Currently, California, Colorado, Vermont, Alaska, Oregon, Maine, New Mexico, Nevada, Washington, Montana, Rhode Island, Washington, D.C., Hawaii, and most recently Minnesota and Connecticut all have laws that permit some type of medical marijuana. Marijuana's main active ingredient, THC, is available in pill form. It is a Canadian medicine known as Marinol. Marijuana can cure glaucoma by relieving intraocular pressure and is proven to be one of the best medications available.
Reefers.
Due to its antispasmodic, anticonvulsive, and anti-tremor properties, it is effective in helping with multiple sclerosis, Tourette's, epilepsy, and Parkinson's disease. Marijuana stimulates appetite and temporarily increases metabolism. This increase in appetite is very helpful for people with eating disorders, anorexia, and helps them and patients who take appetite-suppressing medication to maintain a proper diet. Marijuana has proven to be an analgesic and alleviates the pain of AIDS and cancer patients. And because of its antiemetic properties, it helps chemotherapy patients and other people who experience nausea on a regular basis. Before its illegalization, it was prescribed to alleviate depression, melancholia, rheumatic pain, menstrual cramps, headaches, migraines, insomnia, and to stimulate appetite. All patients who receive medical marijuana are only permitted to do so by state law. All patients who use marijuana are subject to arrest by the federal government. Although there are currently 7 patients receiving cannabis for the various illnesses through a federal medical marijuana program, that was closed to new patients by President George W. Bush. Another concern is that by purchasing marijuana, one could potentially be supporting terrorists. This problem could be eliminated if the government cultivated and sold marijuana. This would allow users to avoid shady drug dealers and potential terrorists, thus limiting the public's access to harder drugs. A serious problem associated with marijuana use is the possibility of buying pot laced with cocaine, PCP, and other drugs. However, if the government regulated and legalized the marijuana market, people wouldn't have to worry about accidentally using harder drugs. Additionally, marijuana has become the largest cash crop, having a $35 billion market value, larger than corn and wheat combined. By legalizing the substance, not only could the government tax marijuana like they do tobacco, but millions of dollars would be saved by discontinuing anti-marijuana commercials, reducing police enforcement, and by freeing up prison space. As it is, federal prisons are overcrowded in 37 states, and the result is that serious criminals serve shorter sentences in order to make jail room for marijuana offenders. America's first marijuana law was enacted at Jamestown Colony, Virginia, in 1619. It was a law ordering all farmers to grow Indian hemp seed. Up until 1767, one could even be jailed for not growing hemp. Taxes could even be paid with the material.
Long ago, when these ancient Grecian temples were new, hemp was already old in the service of mankind. For thousands of years even then, this plant, had been grown for cordage and coarse cloth in China and elsewhere in the East. A 44-gun frigate, like our cherished old Ironsides, took over 60 tons of hemp for rigging, including an anchor cable 25 inches in circumference. This is hemp seed. Be careful how you use it. For to grow hemp legally, you must have a federal registration and tax stamp. American hemp must meet the needs of our Army and Navy as well as of our industries. Rope for marine rigging and towing, for hay forks, derricks, and heavy-duty tackle. Light-duty fire hose, thread for shoes for millions of American soldiers.
Hemp, having very low amounts of THC, is the strongest and most durable natural fiber. It's used to make fine quality clothes, paper, shoes, bags, cosmetics, hygiene products, furniture, musical instruments, surfboards, car parts, and hundreds of other products. Hemp seed oil has been used for centuries to make paints, varnishes, and lubricants. It's also a renewable energy source, and it's currently being used as a biofuel to power automobiles. Hemp seed oil is the richest known source of polyunsaturated essential fatty acids, also known as good fats, containing 81% by volume, and also contains a fair amount of protein. Hemp can also be used to make hemp plastic, which is a new technology where biodegradable hemp fiber plastics can be molded or injection molded. Henry Ford made a car primarily out of hemp and other plant materials. After testing the strength of his car with an axe, he said, "The axe bounced, and there was no dent." Thomas Jefferson grew hemp, and even drafted the Declaration of Independence on hemp paper. Mercedes-Benz uses a biocomposite, composed principally of hemp fiber for the manufacture of interior panels in some of its automobiles. BMW is also experimenting with hemp materials as part of an effort to make their cars more recyclable. In Europe and China, hemp fibers are increasingly being used to strengthen cement and other composite materials for many construction and manufacturing applications. Currently, the United States is the only industrialized nation that bans the cultivation of hemp, with the exception of North Dakota. Headlines and articles tying violence with marijuana use and race became the basis for testimony leading to the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 that in effect made marijuana illegal. In charge of the marijuana propaganda was Harry J. Anslinger, head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. Testifying to Congress on why marijuana should be illegal, he said, "There are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the U.S., and most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. The satanic music, jazz and swing, results from marijuana usage. This marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and others." He later said, "It is a drug that causes insanity, criminality, and death, the most violent causing drug in the history of mankind." However, in 1948, when Congress was obsessed with its anti-communist agenda, Anslinger asserted that marijuana caused users to be peaceful and pacifistic, and that communists could use marijuana to weaken the resolve of America's fighting men. Thus, he contradicted his initial argument for legalization. Anslinger received help publishing his propaganda campaign from notorious Yellow journalist William Randolph Hearst, who had invested heavily in the timber industry to support his newspaper chain, and did not want to see the development of hemp paper in competition. Hearst was also very racist, and made immense profits off his fabricated news stories. When trying to determine if marijuana's psychoactive properties and health risks justify its illegalization, one should compare the substance to alcohol. Excessive alcohol consumption directly causes about 100,000 deaths each year in the United States. The Prohibition era proved that illegalizing certain substances is completely futile, considering that more people drank during the prohibition of alcohol than before it. The counterculture that developed around alcohol prohibition gave rise to a powerful mafia, similar to the marijuana situation today. Marijuana is a gateway drug because it is the most widely accessible recreational drug, similar to cigarettes and alcohol. If caffeine, however, which is physically addictive, unlike marijuana, became illegal, it too would become a gateway drug, because it would be so accessible and would open users to a realm of illegality. An individual who is willing to break the law in order to smoke pot is likely going to be more inclined to commit other illegal actions. Cigarettes kill over 435,000 people each year. There has not been one death directly related to marijuana usage. Rastafarians, Hindus, Buddhists, and several other religions use marijuana as a part of their religious and spiritual ceremonies. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution says that the government cannot prohibit the free exercise of religion. However, the government is prohibiting the free exercise of religion by keeping marijuana illegal.
In Amsterdam, where consumption of marijuana is decriminalized, the percentage of regular users is 2.5%, half the size of the United States, which is at 5%. If marijuana were to become legal, it should be dealt with in a similar manner as alcohol. Potency should be indicated, like alcohol proofing, and similar public intoxication and driving rules should apply. The most dangerous part of marijuana is that it continues to remain illegal.